Hey everybody, it's Donovan. I'm back with you in the Out of Rhythm Fantasy Sports Studios, coming at you on January 18th. It's midday here in Green Bay, and thought that I would get a second pod done this week, or stream, or however you're taking in this content. Um, Today we're going to go over third base. Values and I guess holds or weights, however you want to look at it. Um, we've covered catch. You can go back and find catcher, first base, and second base. Third base then will be posted soon. You can find everything on your podcasting platform. It is also available on YouTube and all through the Out of Rhythm Fantasy Sports Network. 1 second, I am going to mute my notifications here. That is annoying. And you can find everything out there. You can also find us on X. I am at Spittingseeds BB, and Out of Rhythm Fantasy Sports is at Out of Rhythm Fant, FANT. And also, I have a Gmail. That's it, spittingseedsbb@gmail.com. If you wish to send me an email, I'm happy for feedback of any kind or questions on all these platforms. My DMs are open, as are Jamie's at Outer Rhythm Fantasy Sports. You can also reach out to us to get into our Discord channels. That is the Outer Rhythm one channels, or the Spittingseeds baseball community, for 24/7-ish talk between Jamie and I. We cover all hours of the day. When he is sleeping, I am awake. When I am awake, when I am sleeping, he's awake. So works out pretty well if you have questions or want to get a hold of people to bounce ideas or information off. So let's dig into third base here and get started. Much like second base, it looks like there's some hard tiers in the ADP, but unless you're in a 15-man, it's looking like there are no third basemen in the top, 12, 10. Jose Ramirez is one that's been, I'm drafting right now in a best ball and out of the 12 spot, and I took him on the swing. So I paired him with, I forget, and it's irrelevant right now, but he was part of my swing picks in a best ball that I am currently doing right now. And Yordan Alvarez was the other player. So Yordan Alvarez and Jose Ramirez on the 112-2-1 swing. The top five are Jose Ramirez, Austin Riley, Elly De La Cruz, Rafael Devers, and Gunnar Henderson, according to NFBC data over the past month. And that is the strong, and these are 15 man. So Jose sneaks in at 14.74 average ADP. And then Austin Riley, Elly De La Cruz, and Rafael Devers are all second round average ADP, followed by Gunnar Henderson slipping just out at 31 average ADP. So that's your top five. And arguably, I guess I'm going to put Ramirez in a tier of his own, and then we'll smash together, I guess, the other four in that in a tier, with Gunnar being the obvious low man in the tier. So we could dig into that a little bit. I have Devers and Henderson as my 4 and 5 as well, as they're falling by my projections. So I think that's appropriate. Ramirez, I don't have as my number one, but we will talk a little bit as who would be my number one. And this, again, if you've listened to my past episodes, is if everything were to be the same. So this is talent, not necessarily who I would draft, but this is my talent number one. output number 1. Jose Ramirez would be my 2, and I'm sure you probably already know who's going to take the cake on here, but Austin Riley, who is 2nd by ADP, I would have 6th. Elly De La Cruz, I would have 9th. So that might be hot. I don't know. If you're an Elly guy, you might come at me, but we'll dig into that a little bit. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the next 5 in ADP are Royce Lewis, Manny Machado, Ha-Sung Kim, Alex Bregman, and Nolan Arenado. I could tell you that Bregman I have 11th and Nolan Arenado I have 8th. So I really have no problem with them being 9 or 10 by ADP. That's kind of, we're getting into your choice. Again, Bregman, Arenado, Josh Young, Spencer Steer, all are 100 to 108th average ADP. So they're a tier of their own. But now to move back up, Royce Lewis, Manny Machado, and Ha-Sung Kim. I talked about Kim in the second base, and I have pretty much the same reservations about him, and we'll dig into that a little bit. I have him 17th, and that's primarily last year he probably exceeded projections, and I'm going to taper that down a little bit as there's movement in San Diego. We'll talk about him a little more. And we're just going to dig right into my my reach category here. If I can get, there we go. My third base, the guys that I would draft ahead of ADP. So we'll start first with Manny Machado, who's going 7th. We have the elbow surgery in the offseason, which is pushing him down. Right now, if you're drafting and you want to wait at third base, this is the guy you want to grab. Like right after Gunnar Henderson goes, that is probably about the time, maybe the next round you grab Manny Machado. You could probably stretch it 2 rounds. He's going currently 68th overall-ish. High of 36, low of 88. Like Gunner's going 31 on average. So like I say, right after Gunner, if you're looking to fill your third base, this is where you could probably cash in a chip, and hopefully the elbow surgery comes out clean. Once he gets to spring training, if he looks good, his ADP is going to shoot up ahead of Royce Lewis, likely. He's got a long track record of production. And I have him at 29 home runs. So 83 runs, 29 home runs, 94 RBI, 6 stolen bases with a 275 batting average. I think we could pencil that in. That's pretty much on his, his career 162 average, according to Baseball Reference, puts him at 32 home runs. I don't project ever at 162. I think that's going to be a bit of a stretch, but if you put him at 100, I think I have him at 145 games there. So 29 home runs seems pretty good. And that 279 is his career batting average. So I have him at 275. Hey, he had an elbow injury. Maybe I'm probably going to be right on, right? So he's a pretty consistent player. For the most part, we can see the dips in his home runs are based. I mean, the only real dip I'm looking at are injury seasons or 2020. So like he's a very consistent 30 home run player. So you're going to get exactly what you want here. So that's why I'm willing to wait and pass up on the risk of an Elly. And we'll talk about Elly in a little bit. So Manny Machado, currently 7th. I have him as my third ranked third baseman. So I'm looking to grab him right after Gunnar Henderson. I think you'll get good money back on that, good value back. Ezekiel Duran is a guy that is going 32nd overall in third base. He is going like 5'10", which is it's not too surprising because he really hasn't found 100% of a role yet, but he's multi-position eligibility with third, short, and outfield. He, last year he took a step up. He played 58 games in 2022. Last year he played 122 games. Now he didn't start them all, so his PAs were lower, but he turned around with a 276 batting average, 324 OBP, 14 home runs, and 8 stolen bases. So contribution wise, he contributed pretty well. Pretty high strikeout rate, but a solid player overall. Hopefully he can find some more walks and get on base, and that could lead to some more stolen bases as well. The Texans were looking at batting him 9th, so it's not the best spot for plate appearances, but it's, potentially allows him to steal some bases. And then the top of the order coming up can hopefully drive him in for some runs. So, sneakily like that, we could see him gain some value there. And if he were to carve out some playing time for himself, we could really see him jumping up. So, in your 12 teams, your 10, maybe not your 10, you could let him lie. 12 teams, if you want to take a stab at him at the back, especially if you got deep benches, this is a great guy to grab at the end. And then your deeper leagues too, middle infield type guy, and your deeper leagues, middle infield, and he qualifies at corner infield. So corner and middle, I'm sorry. Of course, we're talking about third base. So it'd be corner infield, and then he gets that middle infield eligibility and outfield. So, you could plug him all over. So he's a good, deeper move around type of player that if he carves out some playing time could really reward you. Royce Lewis, now this is the guy he's on almost every pod right now, and I'm going to say pretty much the same thing everybody else is saying. Royce Lewis has all the tools and the skills to be the number 1 third baseman overall, period. Am I ranking him there? Well, in this exercise, yes. Am I taking him there? Heck no. Too much risk. We have not seen a full healthy season yet. He is going to be 25 this year. And his entire career has been slowed up by injury. He was the first round pick, right? First pick in 2017. So everything's there. Everything's in line for him. Last year, 15 home runs, 6 steals, and a 307 batting average in 58 games. So, using his 162 in Baseball Reference, they got him at 39 homers, 14 stolen bases. Again, even if he goes 145, I would have him at 35 home runs with 13 stolen bases, 308 batting average, 117 RBI, 83 runs. But it's not going to happen. He's just not going to probably play that many games. If you are in some best balls, this is the guy to grab, right? This is the lottery ticket of the year. Will Royce Lewis put out what everybody's projecting? And it looks like you can get him around the 6th overall third baseman, around pick 50. So his high pick was 22, his low was 77. If he's there at 77, I have a third baseman, I still take Royce Lewis. Why not? He could really make a payday. Maybe he only has 120 games, but guess what? That could be 20 home runs, 25, 30 home runs. He's worth a shot. I couldn't take him at 22. I could stomach him around 50, and I'm definitely taking him at 77. But just like everybody else is saying, this could be the number one third baseman, period. I just can't do it. And then Josh Rojas. Josh Rojas, I have had probably on my teams every single year, the past, since 2020, probably when he's 2021, probably, I would say, not 2020, but I think he was still struggling in 2020. But in 2021, I remember he had a little push towards the end of the year, especially, and he ended up contributing. He's not going to get you big ticket numbers, but he's going to give you that head-to-head value across the board, like little bits and pieces. And for your last pick or your bench guy that you're plugging in, if he gets you that stolen base, that's going to pay off, right? Like, I don't have where I have his, I'm going to pull up his projections here that I have, but he's currently in the 44th. So in your super deep leagues, he's currently the 44th the third baseman going off the board. He also qualifies at second base. He's at pick 642. So in your super deep leagues, I think he could return like 20th third base value in the end. And that's primarily that he's steady across the board. He's batting ninth in that lineup. So the same as I talked about Ezekiel Duran, where he's going to be able, the bottom of the order, he's going to be able to potentially get a couple extra stolen bases from that. And then the top of the order comes up and hopefully drives up his runs a little bit. The plate appearances will be down, but overall, I think he's going to be a fairly good value if you take him with your last pick. So I'm going to pull up here 1 second while I do this. I'm going to find where I have his projection on the year. Sorry for the bad airway here because I cut him off my list. Funny. I have him at 20th. So 8 home runs, 18 RBI. So again, he's not a home run guy. I'm sorry, 8 home runs, 18 stolen bases. So he's kind of even across the board. Just gives you that value back at a last pick. And you could plug him in at all these different positions. He won't kill you in batting average. Just a guy you want to stab probably at the end of your draft if you need that multi-position corner infielder, middle infielder. If you just failed to do that, this is a good guy to plug in there. And those are the 4 guys that I'm going to highlight quickly here, and I'll recap all of the third basemen in the end here. But I'm going to slide over to the people who I'm going to avoid. Ha-Seong Kim again, 38 stolen bases last year was wonderful. 17 home runs. He's great. History has a way of, replicating itself, and I think that we're just going to suppress those numbers a little bit, and we may be biting off a bit more than we could chew, taking them at the 8th. Now, the other argument is he is second base, third base, and shortstop eligible in NFBC, and same for Fantrax. So, if he can replicate these numbers and you can put him in all those positions, plus middle infielder, plus corner infielder, plus utility, he might warrant that 8th rank. I just think his numbers are going to lax a little bit this year. And, he's just not going to produce that same value, but that multi-position eligibility really makes up for it all. So I can't argue against him taking 8th. I'm just saying that I think the numbers are going to dip a little bit. Austin Riley is another one that he had an amazing season last year. And I think we're going to pay for that. I think we're really going to pay for that. Great team, amazing lineup, wonderful position. Is he batting, third in that? So he's got everything set up for him. Just to replicate, that's an amazing season. And maybe that whole team is made of magic and he can do it. I'm very hesitant to take him there, and I would have him ranked as my 6th. And what that means is that I can let him slide. I can pass on him at pick 20. He's high of 16, max of min of 30. So, I'll let him go at pick 30 even. After pick 30, I'd consider him, but maybe I'll take a Rafael Devers or Gunnar Henderson ahead of him because I'm going to be able to pick up someone else that'll help, build my team. So I think, I think I can pass on Austin Riley at pick 20, as that second, third baseman this year. His average, his stats for me, 32 home runs, 86 RBI, but it's the 2 stolen bases, and I think his batting average has to come down. It has to come down. He can't bat 348 again. So we'll see how that plays out, but that's where I'm standing on him. And then Elly De La Cruz, all of the hotness. If he plays 140 games, he could steal 50 bases easy. With 19 home runs, it's all there. We just don't know what's going on in Cincinnati. This is just like last episode. We were talking about it. I'm hesitant to put this much stock in a guy like Elly De La Cruz. I have him ranked 9th. That's probably going to end up being low, and I will adjust my ranks as we get closer, but does have this shortstop eligibility, which is nice and does help push up that ADP, but 23rd overall, 11 high and 38 low. I'll take him at, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to have any Elly De La Cruz in redraft, period. That's the end of that story. He's just going too high. And if you win with him, great job. And if you don't, man, I'm sorry. I just think the hype is, we could see that sophomore slump, right? It's too much risk for me. I'm very risk averse, especially in the beginning rounds where I want safe, known production floor. Manny Machado is great example of that. I know what I'm going to get. I know I'm going to get 30 home runs. I know I'm going to, get that handful of stolen bases and a decent batting average. And I know I'm going to get runs. I know I'm going to get RBIs. I know it. I just much rather have that over the risk. Just have steady floor, especially in the beginning. And then Jake Berger is my last one, currently 13th overall. Had a huge season last year. I want to say out of nowhere, we knew he had power, and it just all hooked up last year. Terrible ballpark for him, but he proved to be able to overcome that last year, and I'd love to see him keep going because it's a cool story, right? And has no speed to speak of. Terrible lineup, in my opinion, down there in Miami. You're not going to get it. All of his runs that he creates are going to be off of his bat for the most part. I have him ranked 21st overall on my third base. Now he is super late power for me. That means, which is why someone is going to take him as high as 13th. And if you fail to get a lot of power in the beginning, which there is a significant amount of power in the first few rounds of the drafts, maybe you're taking Berger ahead, but I feel all you're going to get is the power. So it has to be build dependent, and you have to be in a need for power to take him there. With that, it's about 158 his average ADP. So I would never take him in his high pick, which is 92, because I think at that point I'm going to be starting to fill my rotation out. So Jake Berger's probably a guy I wait on and avoid. And if I lose him, I lose him. In his clump of players being drafted, It's Jake Berger leading the way at 158, Alec Boehm, Noelvi Marte, Key Brian Hayes, Max Muncy, Isaac Paredes. And Paredes is the low man at 179 ADP. So yeah, it's just like I said, a little rich for my blood. Key Brian Hayes is a guy in that group. If Berger's going 13th, when Berger goes, wait around and take Key Brian Hayes. Like, I have Key Brian Hayes as my 13th. Currently he's 16th. I have him as my 13th. He's going to figure it out. He's got tools. He gives you that even across the line, head-to-head stats that you want, that you crave. Like, you want those. I want those even, consistent guys. If everybody on my team does 20-20, I'm going to win every week. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. So let's recap quick all of the third base. I'm going to look through here. Nolan Arenado is the 10th. I have him 8th. Josh Young is 11th. I have him 12th. So I can't argue with those. Spencer Steer is a guy, much like Elly. These guys will they ever have a home? I don't know. Spencer Steer's probably going to end up in the outfield. And then that's fine as long as it's consistent play, because I have him 7th ranked out of all of the third basemen. So Spencer Steer is a guy who's currently going 12th at 108 overall. You could argue to take him instead of Ha-Sung Kim with the eighth third base going off the board. So if Ha-Sung Kim goes, feel free to look at maybe a Spencer Steer if you want to reach a little bit. And then guys that I'm going to pass on later in the rounds would be the Max Muncy, the Isaac Paredes. Heimer Candelario is interesting. Another guy who's stuck in that Cincinnati. He's going 19th. I have him ranked 18th. Boy, that could be a lot better place for him, but we just need to know what the playing time is. Luis Rengifo, he is 23rd overall right now. He's got second, third, shortstop, and outfield eligibility. Currently going 261. I could see taking him right after like Candelario, so like 19th, so about like 220 overall. I could reach for him a little bit. He's going to get playing time. That team's a mess, but we'll see. Chris Taylor, I don't know. He's going 30th. If he could play, he would have time. He's just not going to get to play in LA. So if something major shows up between now and then that Chris Taylor's guaranteed playing time, maybe a guy to keep on your radar. But for now, I have him ranked pretty high, but I couldn't touch that. So that's third base in a nutshell. If you agree or disagree, don't be afraid to reach out to me. If you want to put it in the Discord chats or send me something on X, comment on the post on X with this episode. That's great. Put it in the YouTube chat. That's cool. We'll get back to you. Again, you can reach Outer Rhythm Fantasy Sports at Outer Rhythm Fant on X, or myself at Spittingseeds BB on X, or at spittingseedsbb@gmail.com by email. Please give this a subscribe and a like and all that happy stuff. Give us, a few ratings and reviews online, just to give us a little bump, a little push here up the charts, and we'll keep bringing you content as we create it. I hope to come back with shortstop next week if time permits. I am fairly busy, but I will give the people what they want. Shortstop, probably 2 episodes for outfield. I'll touch on utility players somewhere in here. We'll probably cover some mock draft action, some ADP action between now and the start. I don't know if I'm going to have my pitching model all set up. I'm not finding a whole lot of extra spare time to work on that, and that's quite the endeavor. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep you abreast, and I will have some commentary on pitching in the upcoming weeks as well. But I just don't know if it's going to have my ranks to bounce off, but I will give you something on that. And then we'll throw it all together and talk about, like a top 100 or top 150 or something of that nature in some fashion, whether I put it out on the Discords or give it to you in a post or a podcast or however it comes. So I want to thank you all for listening. Again, give us a like and subscribe. And for now, I am Donovan and I am out.